Static buzz in the midnight air. Traffic and spook are in the gamer's lair. Loot drops falling like a neon rain. Pixel worlds driving us insane. Halo rings light up the fight. Sonic speed blurs through the night. Diablo's demons in the dungeon's breath. Path of Exile paths leading to death. Live farming gossip in the glow. Digital whispers in the flow. EverQuest dreams keep us alive. Dead by daylight screams collide. Talk of bosses grinding bones. Legends born in gaming zones. Quests that stretch beyond the frame. In this podcast we name the game. Controllers on the heartbeat song. Spookers laugh keeps the vibe strong. Traffic's words cut through the noise. Gaming tales from girls and boys. Loot farming gossip in the glow. Digital whispers in the flow. EverQuest dreams keep us alive. Dead by daylight screams collide. Controllers hum the heartbeat song. Spookers laugh keeps the vibe strong. Traffic's words cut through the noise. Gaming tales from girls and boys. The farming gossip in the glow. Digital whispers in the flow. EverQuest dreams keep us alive. Dead by daylight screams collide.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Loot Farming and Gossip, where you have me, Spooker, and our co-host,
Hi everybody, Traffic here.
where we're going to dive into all things Path of Exile 1 and 2 with the new League and mechanic, the League of Mercenaries. And the good, the bad, the in-between, the community feedback, and what we think and our takes on the differences, changes, what we expected, and maybe what may be to come. So I know you've been diving pretty deep into the whole League of Mercenaries and figuring things out. So how far have you gotten with the Mercenaries, and what can you tell us about the mercenary mechanic in Path of Exile 1's new League?
The mercenaries in themselves are probably one of the strongest things that we've had in the game for a long time. They're really reminiscent of Diablo 2. I know we constantly go back in a lot of the previous episodes to Diablo 2, but it really feels like that's what they were aiming for. You have this character that comes alongside you. It has auras, it has skills. You can give it gear, you can give it all different loot pieces, and you can really tailor this guy to go through your maps with you to really provide you with either an offensive or defensive line. And because you have another player with you, technically an NPC, you're still getting half a player's worth of loot in the map, which makes it just out of this world. It's probably one of the best things to ever come to the game. And I fear that it might not go core because of its current level of power is insane and people just are crazy.
Well, true, and you're not wrong. Like, we had enough, I don't know if it was community members or just feedback, lashback about once you get towards like the core end game farming and you're running into these mercenaries, and you would literally click whether you're trying to take a piece of gear or you're trying to hire them or you're trying to steal their epic loot that they have in their inventory, whether it be divines or chaos orbs or whatever it may be. And you click that button and you get that countdown like ready, fight, and then boom, you're dead. And it's like,
no, it's so this is where like community feedback is really interesting, right? So at the time of recording, it is Sunday. The Sunday after, it's 7, 8, 9 days after league start. We're 9 days in, right? Because it's the 22nd.
Yep.
Players refuse to accept that while, yes, some of the mercenaries are very overpowered, the problem with them dying is them. We're 9 days in. my character went from constantly chain dying to mercenaries to just looking at them and blowing them up because I've upgraded my gear. Players need to realize, being 9 days in, that their gear is bad, they haven't progressed as far as they thought they have, and they don't remember what it's like to start a league fresh. Because Settlers League was like 350 days. So now you're coming to Mercenaries League and players are just trying this new mechanic without a whole lot of knowledge and blowing up, while the 0.01 percenters are just clearing everything. Yes, I'm not disagreeing with a lot of the people that some of the Mercenaries are really overtuned. Like that Val Flame Blast will immediately just kill you, but a lot of the problems that players are having is gear-based due to them wanting to rush everything and not taking the proper time to gear their character or know how to properly play their character.
True. I won't argue there. Like that, a lot of it definitely is just not being geared. For me personally, like I went through that same phase, right? I was running, I was killing the mercenaries, had no problem. And then I upped the content that I was running to the next step. And then boom, I hit that wall where like, yeah, I clicked this mercenary, had an epic piece of loot on him, probably better than a lot of the loot I had. And then, yeah, next thing I know, boom, I blink, I'm dead. And yeah, totally get it. I'm under geared. I'm not ready for it. Not my problem at all. But a lot of other people were having a similar thought process against what you said, right? And yeah. I'm not the only one that was thinking like, what the hell happened? Like I just went up one step, not thinking that obviously, I need to upgrade my gear. That's just a natural thought. But what's funny about that concept is they brought in, I don't remember what day it was, but they brought in something where they changed mercenaries. And it didn't even last 24 hours, right?
Well, the mercenaries were instantly dying, so they made this change to make everything easier, and everything was easier. Like they went from like not being too hard to just like a pushover, and then everybody's mercenary just dies. There's a balancing act that needs to happen, and they just haven't found that nice middle ground yet of keeping the mercenaries alive versus the PvP aspect. Because another thing too is like it's PvP, right? So like our builds are catered towards PvE. They're not catered at all towards PvP, which that in itself makes things difficult.
Well, yeah, because if you want to go back to like the PvP fights and PvP battles that you do in the slums, right, in Act 3,
yep.
A lot of that is very, very similar to the whole mercenary mechanic, right? You'll be in there fighting, having fun, get one shot somebody, and that was kind of the gist of the PvP in the slums, as far as I was.
So they're actually like, it's pretty active right now. There's a couple of people in the community who I've been talking to who are like gearing level 28 characters for PvP. And like, I guess Act 3 in normal is like really active for PvP as of like yesterday. So I don't know how it is when you listen to this. Yeah, dude. Like they're doing level 28 battles in Act 3.
Oh, so like the low level dueling. Dude, that's awesome,
yeah,
man.
They're doing
bringing
low level
dueling back.
Yeah, and the one guy was like leveling his berserker and he was linking me this like fractured axe. And I was just like, why do I care about tier 6 like fractured hybrid fizz? And he's like, bro, look at the level requirement. And I was like, yeah, it's really low. And he's like, do you know what I'm doing? And I'm like, no. He's like, dude, we're prepping low level duels again. And I was just like, what? Wait, what?
Yeah, I mean, like even in the PD2 community, and even in the core Diablo 2, and even Diablo 2 Resurrected, low level dueling has always been a crazy populated little group of people. So I mean, that makes sense. That'd be cool. I'd actually be down to.
Yeah, I've never done the PvP in Path of Exile, so it'd be really interesting to see. I'd like to see if like the community comes together and rally tournaments and stuff.
Yeah, that would be really, really cool. So on the mercenary notes, you've ran into a lot more than I have. And my experience so far has been, out of all of them, for me, as the more casual player, I've experienced that the kineticist is probably one of the best mercenaries for me. Maybe it could be my build too, who knows? But more so because I'm not having to spend all that gold to resurrect it every time I go into content that's a little bit too tough for me. Now, granted,
just wait.
Your issue.
They will drop dead all the time.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I mean, 100%. But in accordance to what I can run versus what my mercenary is tanky for. I've even seen, I saw some stuff this morning, actually, of a few. I was going through YouTube looking at some community feedback on the Mercenaries League, and there was a few posts I saw where the dude, the player, me or you, is sitting there dead on the floor fighting a pinnacle boss while their mercenary is up there still still shooting away at the pinnacle
Crazy.
boss. So
I have a couple friends who are just playing aura bots for their mercenary. There's one guy I know, and his mercenary identifies all the loot for him and has minus rarity gear
wait,
on
what?
and drop. Yeah. You can identify your loot with your mercenary. There's a cloak called the Cloak of Tamsley Owl, something like that. And
Okay.
it identifies it forces magic gear to drop identified, and he's fracture farming. And he has his mercenary full of just minus rarity gear, so all the gear drops white and blue. And he's playing an aura bot, and his mercenary kills everything in tier 17 maps.
So first question, what mercenary is he using? Do you know?
Kineticist.
That's funny.
The Ripper is supposed to be really good too. A lot of people are recently talking about that, but I haven't dived into it. I know I'm using the KB guy myself,
Oh, okay.
but I use the KB guy as a curse bot
Oh, okay.
because he can hit the whole screen.
Yeah, that's one of the things I like about that. I've heard recently from some of the bigger streamers that are obviously into playing more, just getting more access to the more mercenaries. Your league starter, which was the volcanic fisher of snaking, I think.
Oh.
I heard that the mercenaries that use that gem, if you can get some good support gems for that gem, that those mercenaries are pretty crazy as far as like damage.
I had a volcanic fisher snaking guy day one of the league, Act 1, Zone 3. When you go into the cave, the first mercenary I fought had volcanic fisher snaking.
Oh shit!
And he just completely cleared all of Act 1 for me.
Yeah, so the mercenaries are definitely, and I kind of like that because, like we've said before in previous episodes, Diablo 2 has been the core backbone in the development process of GGG's Path of Exile, right? So I kind of love the fact that they're bringing in that whole mercenary aspect of, because we've had, I won't say mercenaries, but we've had instances like Heist where you kind of go into this mechanic and you have helpers that are following you, similar to like a mercenary setup, but you have no control of their gear, what they're doing, what they're casting. It's just they are what they are. You give them like a few pieces of loot, and it's not really that beneficial. I mean, it is for the mechanic, but you know what I'm saying. It's nothing like
yeah. No, this is the first time that we've had like actual like hireable help to fight bad guys.
Yes.
So.
And I love it. I'm absolutely loving it. I had a struggle of a start because my pea brain was having issues on figuring out how to scale poisonous concoction at first, because there's not really, like, most builds scale off of a weapon, right? And this skill doesn't use a weapon. So I'm sitting here with no weapon in my hand and my thumbs twirling around each other. Like, how am I actually supposed to scale this damage? Because I hit a few walls.
Flask.
Correct. And I actually found a flask. Was it last night, I think? Yeah, I think it was last night. I found a flask with it. It was I think it was like a 69% increased recovery rate. And my question to you, actually, since we're here together, when it comes to the flask, does increased charges benefit?
Yeah, I mean, you use a charge, right? So if you don't have good charge sustain, well, if you don't have a good charge sustain, then yeah, you need charges.
Okay, that makes sense. But
so like eventually you're going to get to the point where you're like playing Pathfinder or Assassin, and you're just going to have infinite charge sustain and generation, and that won't matter. And you only care about the size of the flask and the recovery of it, because it's like based off like recovery. And like, I think I don't have the gem in front of me. I think it's also based off how much, like how big of a flask it is. So you always want like the 3,500, 3,600 health flask.
Yeah. That was the big thing I noticed, was that like when I upgraded my flask, it helped my damage, but not as much as I thought it was. So like I was looking into the different scaling, where else we can scale, and it just kept boiling down to you just need more levels.
It's always more levels, yeah.
So
that's like, and this is the thing with like league start that a lot of people forget, right? Because we haven't league started in a year, and it kind of goes back to the earlier statement we made earlier. Players, yourself included, and I'm not immune to this either. We forget what it's like. So like I rerolled off of Volcanic Fissure Snaking into Cast and Stun, and Cast and Stun into like Smite Slayer. And I'm playing like this Ruchu build, and it's really strong, it's really solid. And I hit a bunch of walls just like you did. And I had the same kind of questions. How do I scale it? Where do I go? What do I do? And my buddy who was playing it, my buddy MB who's playing it, just kept saying, well, are your gems leveled? And I'd be like, nah, they're like 18. He goes, they're not leveled. He goes, they have quality? I'm like, a couple of them. He's like, so they're not quality. He's like, what level are you? I'm like, 82. He goes, so you're not 90 like it recommends. I'm like, I'm not 90 yet. And he goes, so why are you complaining? And I'm like, you know what? You're right. Like, you're right. I got to pull my head out of my ass. And like I'm not immune to it, right? We forget because we're so used, or at least I can say I'm used to. And there's going to be people who are going to be like, this elitist prick. I'm so used to playing an entire league with having mage bloods and headhunters and like this crazy gear because Settlers was a year long, right? So in that course of a year, it was really easy to get this mirror weapon and this mage blood, especially with the price of items dropping. Like even right now, like when I looked this morning, headhunters are, if I refresh right now, headhunters are currently being price fixed at 25 divines and trending down from 60.
25.
So,
that's crazy.
Well, yeah, we're like a day away from single digit or low double digit headhunters, right? So
Right.
like, you know, it's only a matter of time until everybody's back at that like power level that they were once at, where they forget what it's like to league start again.
Right. And that was my issue. Like, it's been a while since I league started, and even the league starts that I did, well, it's not even a league start because Settlers, like you said, was almost a year long.
Yeah.
Even when I did go and play some, I had twink gear where I, ran through the campaign in, 7 or 8 hours.
Even like starting over in like the fresh shale leagues or like some of the private leagues and stuff, it's not a true league start experience where you struggle having to learn like new mechanics, new farming strategies, new atlas. Like there's just so much that goes to a league start that you can kind of replicate. Like you can constantly do like, they call them like 2-stone runs or 4-stone runs, where like you like create a new character in SSF and you just like blast through the game until you get your 2 void stones or your 4 void stones. Like, yeah, you can replicate that over and over and like, come over hurdles and overcome like different gearing hurdles and stuff, but you're never going to be prepared for like the level of spike in difficulty. And you're never going to be able to prepare for gem changes unless you're like Ben. Ben, for those of you listening who don't know, Ben is like the best player in Path of Exile, period. And I realized I was talking about this item called Headhunter, and the price of it. Headhunter is an item that like just steals all the rare buffs from an enemy and just like makes you a god. So we're talking about like god tier loot,
Right. Not everybody has that privilege, but
yeah,
is what it is. But yeah, with leagues, speaking of stones, I haven't even gotten my stones. I'm still farming maps to build my character up.
Just buy it at this point, man. See, like, then this is another one of those like league start things where like players don't realize. And I understand the topic today was supposed to be like the league mechanics stuff, but a lot of people, like yourself included, like we're a weekend, right? Some people are gonna be like, oh my god, it's not that deep in the league. It's pretty deep in terms of like getting things done in the beginning stages of things, especially as like somebody like you and me who like our job is to like play video games, right? Like just buy the stones, right? Just buy completion or get somebody in the community to do for completion for you. Even if you're listening and playing Path of Exile at this stage and you don't have your 4 stones, just buy your 4 stones. You will get so much more done and progress so much faster having it done than sitting there bashing your head against the wall.
What's the going rate for that?
I don't know. I can look. It's not what it was on day 2 what I paid. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, it's right. Yeah, I know. The league start prices are
less.
Freaking ridiculous.
Yeah.
But that's just because...
Go
ahead. Yeah, I was going to say, that's just because the sparsity, right? The amount of people that are actually capable of doing it that soon.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. People will like take advantage of early league stuff. But if I were to look up boss carries right now in the present moment, you can get your Maven Stone for like 40C, and like your Uber Eater or your Uber Shaper Elder is like a divine, dude. It's like
it was like 5 when you paid, right? Or 3, I think.
it was like 2 apiece. Like it was like, well, at the time, right? It was like 90 C for Uber for Shaper and Elder for the Uber Elder fight, and it was like 70 C for Maven. But at the time, like divs were like 50 C.
Right,
So
right.
it's weird, right? You're like it's different stage of the league.
Right. It's cheaper, but in reality, if you do the comparison of C to D, it's just way more expensive early league.
Yeah.
Because a divine is so much more expensive.
It's a divine just goes so much further early league too.
Yeah.
Like you just get so much more like room. Like even right now, like I would tell, like if somebody were asking me today about like the difference between chaos and divine, I would tell them to not even invest. 7 days in, I would never tell them to invest in divine, ever at this point either. It's always invest in like mirror shards or 7 years bad luck at this
something
point.
that's going to hold value. Yeah.
Yeah. Everything depreciates really fast, and it's really interesting because mercenaries provided us with so much more high tier loot and so much more currency faster than a lot of other league mechanics that everything just completely devalued so fast.
Yeah, I noticed that. I think I got a lot of my 4-linked gear from mercenaries like early on. Was it like before I even finished the first 5 acts, I had 4-linked helmet, I think, that I rocked almost all the way to maps, I believe.
Yep. A lot of that gear is insane.
Yeah, it's actually I don't think people realized how insane for a league start that the mercenaries made the league and the possibilities if you went back and did league start again with the knowledge that you have now, how crazy ridiculous you could just speed through the content.
Yep. Mercenaries were also like clearing zones way higher than they should have been. So like you can get like a mercenary in like the mud flats and it would carry you through most of Act 1.
Yep.
Even now, like making a twink character, like you can, it's a little bit more of a pain because you have to like store the mercenary ahead of time. But if you were to make a second character right now and get it to level 20 and higher mercenary, and then get to level 40 and higher mercenary, and then get it to level 60 and higher mercenary, and keep them stored in your hideout, and then make a new character later down the road having these 3 mercenaries, the level 20 mercenary will carry you to level 40, the level 40 mercenary will carry you to level 60, and the 60 mercenary will carry you like forever because you can hire a mercenary 20 levels higher than you.
Right.
So 20 at 20 you would get the 40, at 40 you would get the 60.
Yep. I noticed that when I found my first kineticist, I was in a Discord call with my dad and my buddy, and we were sitting there talking. I hired him, and he was going on about the mercenary he was using, which was, I don't remember which mercenary it was. I think it was a bow. It was one of the mercenaries that used a bow, and he was talking how well it was, like it just cleared the screens for him, and he was having a blast. And I was like, I've been hearing about this kineticist, and I was like, boom, I finally ran into one. So I hired it. I kill it, and then it was literally like 10 seconds after that, I was like, oh my God, what the hell? I was literally shield charging through all the maps, and before my shield charge could reach the enemy and I could stop to throw a poisonous concoction, my mercenary had just cleared the whole freaking screen. I was just like, whoa, what the hell?
What's crazy too is you can give them loot 10 levels higher than what they are too.
Is it only 10 levels?
Yep, they can wear gear 10 levels higher than what they are.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's super crazy. So, with mercenaries, I think the best loot that I've gotten from mercenaries is a handful of chaos orbs. I know they drop divines. What's the biggest loot
Divines.
pocket? Just 1, 2, and
2. I've gotten stacks of 2. I've seen people get mirrors. I've definitely seen people get
really.
Mirrors.
Wow.
I've seen people get mage bloods. Yeah. I've personally only seen divines. So
is it known, or is it just, what's the word I'm looking for, theory, that mercenaries in maps scale with maps and map modifiers like rarity and stuff like that?
I have no idea. That is above my pay grade. I know the guy to ask. He's sleeping as it's 4 a.m. in his country.
Right.
But I do know the guy to ask, and I can get back to you about that.
It was just more of a curiosity question because you figure it's a league mechanic, and a lot of league mechanics scale with these different concepts. And when it comes to like a mapping league, like this league is basically, I was just curious maybe if we knew that mercenaries and their gear or pockets scaled with, map modifiers and all that good stuff.
I'm sure somebody listening knows, but I don't personally have that answer. I haven't noticed much crazier stuff, and I've been doing a lot of tier 17s
Right.
and 5s, so I haven't seen anything like that, but maybe I'm not looking in the right places.
True. Or just not paying too much attention to the different
mercenaries are literally, for me, a mercenary is click the mercenary. Does it have Mageblood, Headhunter, Defiance of Destiny? No. Steal its pockets. That's literally where I'm at with mercenaries. I pay attention to nothing else. Mageblood, Headhunter, Defiance of Destiny, none of those. Steal its pockets.
So at your stage, you're not even looking for potentially an upgraded mercenary that has better support gems?
Nope, don't care.
Because they're just already that powerful?
Nope, just don't care. my mercenary does one thing. It curses everything on the screen. Don't need it to be more powerful. Don't need it to kill anything for me. Just need it to curse everything. But that's different, right? That's like for me. Other players will want different things. Not everybody's doing it the way that I'm doing it, right? Like my mercenary provides me with 3 extra curses. It provides me with exposure, right? So like I don't need it to do a bunch of things. I just need it to hit the screen and survive.
Gotcha. Tanky.
My mercenary like poops out a little worm. I kill the little worm. I get life leech off the worm. I steal it. I get adrenaline off the worm. It's just.
Yeah, we should get a little clip of the audio for that and clip it in here so that the audience can get a little experience of that.
I was recording a video earlier and I realized it was playing while I was talking. I had to re-record the video taking the ring off the mercenary. You just see videos now. The ring is in your inventory.
Oh, yeah, that's too funny. Oh, yeah. So not only did we get mercenaries, right, and some Atlas changes, we got a few different quality of life improvements that people didn't realize they necessarily wanted until they had access to them via another game, right? For example, the pause feature.
That's a good one.
Me personally, I appreciate this feature as a gamer, a dad, a husband, and a worker. Sometimes you just have to get up and walk away, and you really don't want to lose that, 20% XP, 15%? I don't know the percent.
It's like 10 or something, but yeah. No, I think it's one of the best features ever. I'm so grateful for it. I want it in more games.
Yeah,
I want it in more games.
I agree, and unless it's like obviously, and the cool thing is even in Path of Exile 2, a lot of people didn't find out till much later that the pause feature was actually accessible to multiplayer. So a full party, you can still pause the game.
I thought it was not supposed to be accessible to a full party.
I don't know about Path of Exile 1, but if me and my buddies were playing and we tested this, we were in a blight map, and I said, for test purposes, can you hit the escape button and pull up your menu? And he was like, yeah, sure. So as soon as he did that, I pulled up mine, and it said at the top right above the menu, game paused. And I said, okay,
that's crazy.
Can you get rid of your menu? And as soon as he dropped his menu, the game paused notification above the menu dropped out and away. So it does pause if everybody in the party is at a menu of some sort that would generally pause the game.
I didn't know that. That's really good. That's really cool, actually.
Yeah, no, it's been awesome. Like, especially in Blight where you have an oh shit moment and you can kind of rethink, hit pause and be like, okay, I need to get over here, do that, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, so that's probably the best quality of life feature that they've ported from PoE 2 into PoE 1, and I love it.
A lot of people did not like the pause feature. There was a lot of pushback when it was first announced, even for PoE 2. People hated the idea of it. I thought they were crazy. I always love the idea of just being able to pause my video game. But we come into a world where when my mom's yelling at me now, I can't just say I'm playing a multiplayer game anymore, that I can't pause it. But, just to kind of tag what you said, also as a dad and stuff, it's nice because I can be doing something and my son can need me. I can pause the game without worry, or if he wakes up during the night, or if my cat decides it wants to puke all over the place, I can just pause my game and go do what I need to do and not have to worry. It's quite wonderful.
Yeah, no, I agree. And for anybody out there that's listening or hears this and you're one of those pause haters for whatever reason, please let us know. I'd love to know your reasoning as to why you hate such a quality of life improvement in my eyes, because it just brings so much things to the table.
When you pause your game to complain about pausing, realize that you paused the game that you're playing to then come complain about the pause feature that you just used. And don't forget the like and subscribe button while you're down there.
Exactly. I've heard some mention about the Rogue Harbor.
What about it?
There was improved like access. Did they change the way you can get to the Rogue Harbor?
You can, if you go to the Rogue Harbor once, it'll always be on your screen now. So like if you go to like your waypoint, you can click on the button. You don't need to use coins anymore.
One
you only
coin.
Need to use
wow.
Coins. You need to use coins one time now and to go to the Rogue Harbor. And as soon as you get to the Rogue Harbor and unlock the waypoint there, it'll always be on your waypoint. You just click the button on the right side of your screen and port right over.
And that's with being anywhere too? Or is it?
Should be. Yes, it should be anywhere. I haven't been to the Rogue Harbor, or I don't click the button or check to go very often.
Right. Because, you're doing different league mechanic, which is one of the most phenomenal things about Path of Exile 1, by the way. One of the reasons that I keep coming back is that this league I can do this mechanic. In next league, I can not touch that mechanic. And so therefore it's much harder to burn out. So I do love that. One of the other quality of life features that I saw but didn't realize what it was at first, and to be honest, it's amazing now once I figured out what it was the map device. And it having its own inventory for maps.
I thought that was so stupid until I played with it. I thought that was so dumb at first. They released this teaser, this little bag. I was like, this is the dumbest thing. And then I played with it, and boy, howdy, was I wrong.
So what was your original thought on it, and why was it dumb to you?
Because what am I gonna do with it? I got a stash tab, bro. I throw everything in my stash tab. I don't need this little bag, bro. I got a stash tab. I set up everything nice in my tab. I know where everything is. I grab them in order. I ain't gotta worry about anything.
Okay, understandable. And I can see that same point, but then you said you changed your mind once you got to play with it.
Yep. As soon as I got to play with it, I throw everything in there. I was like, all right, this is cool. I'm an idiot. I was wrong. Very easily able to admit I was wrong.
That's kind of cool, how you can have such a strong opinion on something, right, that you know nothing about, and then when you actually get to interact with it or play with it or test it, whatever the case may be, it's like, wow, was I wrong?
Yeah. It's kind of cool.
So I haven't messed with the Atlas too much. What can you tell us about the new changes that come with the Secrets of the Atlas expansion?
Well, you want spoilers? Because this is about to be pretty big spoiler. So this is your warning.
Me personally, I don't care. So, but anybody listening, if you want to skip ahead a couple minutes to not view spoilers, go for it.
So as soon as you clear and get to the high end of like 16s, and you run into Egon or Zana's brother or whatever his name is, he'll give you a quest line, which is really cool. And that unlocks these memory tears where you like go back in time and you see all like the memories of Zana and stuff like that. And after you complete his storyline, he actually sets your Atlas on fire.
What?
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. This is why I added the spoiler tag. Like, as soon as you complete the Egon quest line, your Atlas sets on fire. And it's got like, it's really cool. It's so hard to describe because it's got like burnt edges and rose petals on it. And it's like drenched in like flame. It's really cool, man.
Maybe we can get a little spoiler picture thrown up in there.
I can we could do that. We can have production pull that up.
Yeah, that's sweet. And I've heard a lot of talk about the memories, and I remember doing like, what was it? You'd have the different mechanic memories, like Einhar memories and memories like that. Is it similar to that style of
so that memories got moved altogether.
Right.
The memories now are in Kirak missions. So they're just in a completely different place. But the tears are not like memories. The tears are the 16.5 maps that lead to a boss. So that's like how you engage with the new boss mechanic. You'll like find Egon or whatever his name is in a map and he'll have a tear. You'll click on the tear, he'll come grab the tear. And then you'll talk to him and he'll put a tear, like, okay, very similar, like you said, like a memory where it goes from map 1 to map 2 to map 3 to map 4, and you follow those maps in order. And then at the end of it's a boss.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. They're rare, which is kind of sad, but you know, it is what it is.
I've out of all the streams that I watch, and I do watch a bunch of different streamers and content creators that obviously have a lot more time to dive down the whole end game mechanics and content. I've heard it mentioned, but I've never actually had a chance to like sit down and watch anybody that's actually doing that content. And it's only been a few times between all the content creators that I have seen. So that makes sense that it's super rare.
Yeah, I didn't notice it until you don't get it to spawn until you complete the quest line, and you don't get it to really spawn until you start taking like there's like extra nodes on your Atlas tree that you can like take that I don't think a lot of people have been taking to like get more originator maps and make that stuff happen more often.
What do you mean?
So there's nodes on the Atlas tree that you could take for the Egon stuff.
Oh, specifically towards like the memories and things like that for the.
Yeah, there's if you go to the top of the Atlas tree, there's nodes that say 10% increased chance for your maps to contain memory tears. So there are 3 small nodes that you can get that will give you chances for memory tears. And I don't think a lot of people have been taking them.
Well, true. I mean, but there's been a lot of changes, right? Like outside of just the additions and changes to what's it, manipulate the Atlas tree towards the current league. There's been a lot of nodes that were removed, moved, and added outside of just that particular thing you're talking about, right?
Yep. A lot of people at league start are too scared to experiment. And this kind of goes into the whole like currency issue with Path of Exile, where people don't want to spend currency to experiment because they're scared and they're waiting for somebody else to do it for them.
Right. Yeah, no. And it's understandable, especially when it comes to like, you know, this works or you know, this is going to work. It may not be the fastest discovered, right? Because there's still a lot of undiscovered stuff. But yeah, and that's which cracks me up because you always hear all these people talking about build diversity, build diversity, build diversity. And then you have those same people that are screaming build diversity play the same build for the 776th time.
I will tell you, last night I found out about this and I'm probably going to get yelled at, but it's fine. So people are so used to what they have set in stone, like farming Legion or farming Blight or farming Expedition. Nobody wants to like think outside the box, and they'll wait for your FUB guns or whatever to like come up with a strategy, and they'll try to mimic it. But people never think to sell the shovel in the gold race, you know?
Right.
So last night I'm sitting in Discord with a friend of mine, and he's like, so do you know what Snap's doing? Snap's a big group play guy. He works with Empyrean. They come up with these like 6-man group play party strats, and they're pretty insane. And I said to him, no, what does he do? And he goes, well, they're doing Rogue Exiles on 16.5s. And I was like, oh, how original, Rogue Exiles.
Right.
Oh, yeah, super original. Who didn't see Rogue Exiles on the menu? And he goes, but do you know about it? And I was like, yeah, you run Rogue Exiles. Nothing's changed. And he's like, but do you know? And I was like, no. Okay, now you got me intrigued. What do I not know? And he goes, you know that Rogue Exiles inside of Ritual don't suffer diminishing returns. And I was like, what? Now, at the time of recording, this is accurate. When you listen to this, it might not still be accurate. So Rogue Exiles, as of right now, suffer no diminishing returns if you smuggle them into your map.
What does that mean?
Okay. When you smuggle them into your map, you stick them into a blood vessel, a filled blood vessel. You know what that is?
Yeah, kind of the same thing. Not same, but similar when you're capturing the powers of the gods, right? Same
Sort of.
concept.
Do you know where they come? Do you know
No,
where they come from?
that I don't know.
Ritual has a mechanic called a blood-filled vial. When you
Okay.
complete a ritual, you can use the vial on the ritual to capture all of the monsters in the ritual.
Okay, so
So you have
basically
this vessel
capturing.
full of like you capture rogue exiles, and then you use that vial to open a map. So you put your map in, your vials in, you click the button, your map opens. Those vials put ritual in your map with rogue exiles.
That's pretty
I
freaking crazy.
Yeah. So you go into your map, you run your league mechanic in 16.5s. It fills with rogue exiles. You hit the pedals, the league mechanic with the pedals. They get juiced out of their mind, and because they were smuggled in, they don't suffer diminishing returns from ritual.
So you're
But
just
it gets
getting
even.
a bunch of extra ritual points, right?
Well, hold on. No,
Okay.
you still have to take all the ritual points. You're getting more loot.
Well, no, that's
So
what I
it gets
mean.
it gets even more crazy. So they're not smuggling in regular rogue exiles. They're smuggling in gigantic rogue exiles. Gigantic rogue exiles are the Matroska dolls of PoE. So you kill a rogue exile, it becomes a smaller one. You kill the smaller one, it becomes a smaller one. You kill the smaller one, it becomes a smaller one. You kill the smaller one, it becomes a smaller one.
Oh, kind of
You
like
know,
a
little Matroska dolls?
gelatinous
Yeah.
treasure goblin from Diablo 3.
Yeah. So they're bringing these in. So last night, my buddy was just like explaining to me how they're smuggling in these rogue exiles. And he goes, "Do you know how I'm making my money?" I was like, "No." He goes, "I made a mirror selling shovels." And I was like, "How do you sell the shovels?" And he talks about this like unheard of strategy of
Hang
opening a
on.
map.
Pause. You use the term shovel. It's not the first time. I thought I understood what you were referring to, but go ahead and clarify. What are you referring to when you say shovel?
Okay, when you sell a shovel in the gold rush, everybody's going to California to dig for gold, right? You
Okay.
heard that back in the day. In
Yeah,
America,
yeah.
everybody went to California to dig for gold, right?
Yeah.
Who made the most money? The guy selling the shovel.
Right.
Right. So everybody's racing to do rogue exiles. Everybody's trying to smuggle in rogue exiles. Who's making the most money?
The people creating the
vials to sell.
Gotcha. Okay.
Selling the shovel in the gold rush.
Gotcha. Yep.
Yeah.
It was the same thing, a similar thing to Phrasia League. People were making more money off of what were they called? The Atlas things.
Yep.
What were they called?
Idols.
The idols. Yeah. They were farming up all the idols rather than actually farming currency or anything like that. So I mean that makes total sense. That's actually like ding, brilliant.
Yep. It's in every single league. So like there was a guy back in the day named Grimro, and Grimro used to be a very big divine per hour guy, did all kinds of spreadsheets and kind of laid the groundwork for the whole div per hour mindset.
Right.
And he used to say that some of the most important people in a league are the people that are willing to do the things that you don't want to do. Everybody wants to do the like rogue exile, tier 16.5, blowy uppy, bajillions of uniques falling from the sky. Everybody wants to do that.
Of course.
But the people who make the most money are the people who are willing to do in the effort to get the other stuff. So like shaper farmers, people farming shaper, very specifically Uber shaper, right? You need tier 17 runners to farm the fragments to sell to you to run Uber shaper. Regular shaper. To run regular shaper, you need 4 fragments. Those 4 fragments require you to kill 4 bosses. Those 4 bosses come from very specific maps. Yep. Those maps come from other maps inside of maps. So now you need a guy running maps to generate maps. Those guys that generate those maps sell those maps to another runner who do those maps to generate those fragments. Those fragments are sold to the shaper runners who do the shaper fight, and those shaper runners sell those frags to the Uber runners to do Uber Elder.
Yep, that was
so like there's this like weird chain where like everybody wants to be at the top, but sometimes people don't realize that the guy blasting at the bottom is making more money than the guy at the top.
Yep. There was one. I don't remember which league it was. It was a few leagues. It was one of the first leagues I came back to. Maybe it was Affliction. I don't remember exactly which league it was, but I noticed for some reason, I don't know what it was, but nobody was selling flasks.
Yep.
Just simple flasks. So I told my buddy about it, and I was like, dude, I'm making bank just spending 50 to 100 alteration orbs and selling these flasks for 1, 2, 3, 4 and up sometimes 10 divine for a perfect rolled flask, while there's none on the market. And so, yeah, next thing I know, it was he's in California time, so he's 3 hours before me, so he's up later than me normally, and he's on DGen hours anyways. But needless to say, I would do it during the early or late afternoon, early evening, and then once I stopped, he was like, okay, is it my turn now? And he would turn around, he was doing the same thing, and I think we ended up making probably a couple mirrors worth of currency for our builds over a period of like 2 or 3 days until it started, like, obviously everybody else was like, hey, look, there's money to be made here. So
that's cool.
But yeah, that was one of my first experiences of selling the shovel.
Yep. A lot of, we make the jokes about like the fub guns and the zizzerins and stuff, and these guys come up with really good strats, and like people want to do them, and you just sell the shovel.
Right. Well, like you said in the very beginning, everybody wants to see that big loot explosion, or they want to see that giant pile of raw currency drop, and they forget that it's a stair or a pyramid where somebody has to be at the bottom supporting the stairs or the pyramid in order for the pyramid or stairs to stay upright. And like you said, a lot of people don't realize that a lot of times that the bottom dude, what we used to call like the runners of the military, right, which is like E4s and below, are the backbone to these strategies, or our military, right? And it's just crazy how people they just want to be at the top. They just want to be at the top, and what they don't understand is that the guy at the top's making a bunch of money, but back to your div per hour thing, the guy at the top's making, I don't know, we'll just say 100 div per hour, but the guy at the bottom's making 500 div per hour because he's selling all the shit for that 100 div per hour guy at the top in order to make his 100 div. It's different ways, shape, and form.
You can make a really good amount of currency right now just like farming deli orbs.
Where do those drop? Is that just delirium maps?
Yeah, they drop from delirium maps. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You just farming deli orbs, farming different scarabs, farming for ore, sending shipments. Like there's so many little things.
Speaking of shipments, that was another thing that they kind of changed, right? Because obviously the last league was 11 months, almost a year of people consistently rebuilding and creating their King's March. So what do you think about the changes that they did to King's March for this league? Is it a win in your eyes, or do you think it was?
Yeah, absolutely. It absolutely is. I think the fact that we don't have to build a town is huge. You just hire workers and send off the workers. The problem that we don't know right now is, well, maybe we do. I just haven't done enough research. We just don't know the shipping meta yet. But having access to recombinators and not having to set it up, having access to the mappers and not having to set it up, I don't want to build the town ever again. I'm just glad it's done.
Well, that was my thought too. I thought that was even before the league launched, and they were talking about how we're not going to have to build King's March anymore. It's done. Obviously, it left a lot of speculation as to, okay, how is it done? What does done mean? But needless to say, I think that was a huge W as well. I enjoyed building it once. It was fun. But after that, I was like, no thanks. I'm glad that we can just get to maps or, finish the campaign. And if we want to just jump into King's March, we don't have to spend 1,000 hours in maps farming for the different ores just to upgrade the town to finally.
It's always the gold. The gold is the problem. I mean, gold still probably needs to be readjusted, but it's always gold.
Well, not only my first, and this is probably just a me problem being a casual player, but from my perspective, when I did it, not just the first time, but also the second time when they did that like mid King's March reset, I think whatever they called it, or I don't know. I don't know what you want to call it, but needless to say, when they did that, both times that I played, I always felt like as a casual player, gold was always an issue, right? That's a known fact. It's like number one issue even now is still gold, gold, gold.
Yeah.
How do we farm gold? But those 2 times that I ran through, my issue was finding the damn Verisium ore. And then once you do find it, if you super juice that damn thing too much, you just get your ass whooped.
Yep. That there was a tactic for that, and there's still a tactic for that even today, where there's like certain maps, and there's gonna be a guy listening, and he's gonna be screaming for me to shut up, but there's certain ways to literally just farm Verisium ore and take real big advantage of that. You just have to be willing to look outside the box and think a little outside the box. But there is a layout on a map that will be a big square with 4 rooms that goes downstairs, and the ore can spawn in one of 4 rooms, and it takes 10 seconds to search each room, and you just open and close maps.
What's your map? Is it red maps? You don't have to tell me which specific map. I'm just curious if it's a red map.
It is a map that whose name I can't pronounce. It begins with an S and it ends with an Epsilar. So that's as far as I can get. But yeah, you can literally last league he bought like 2,000 of them on trade, and he would just open map, run in a big circle, look for ore, leave.
So on King's March, right, with the mechanics, I don't know that they necessarily figured out, even with an 11-month-long league in Settlers or King's March, whichever you want to call it, there was a lot of strategies that were figured out. This works, hey, that works, hey, this works. And there was a lot of different strategies. I mean, I saw everybody said, well, you can do this and make tons of money. And then you had, other guy over here saying, well, yeah, that works, but also this works, right? And we're still figuring out. They did tweak some changes. So you've been doing some King's March stuff, right?
Yep.
So what King's March stuff have you been doing, and what are you doing it for?
I have crops going for shipments. I have disenchanters going for dust. And I have mappers running maps, and eventually boats going.
So with boats,
almost everything.
So with boats and mapping, what exactly are your findings as far as like the changes and shifts that they've done? Do they feel like they're providing similar, more or less rewards than they were in the previous league?
I can give you that answer in a week. I can't give you that answer today.
So you're still doing the research behind the scenes and trying to figure that out. Okay, cool.
There's a guy on YouTube named Sir Gog, and he's really good at figuring this stuff out. And I know he's working on it with some other people, and there's a couple other groups that are trying to figure out the best shipping meta.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just storing a lot of plants right now and just sending off random vials of shipment. I mean, you've gotten divines before. I haven't seen a mirror shard yet, but you still get the divines, you get the tattoos, you get the rune graphs. The mappers do mapping things. They still bring back tons of random shit. And I opened a map the other day, and the mapper was just like, you want this 1 armor scrap and this vial of juice? And I was like, what do I want with this for?
Like,
you can't find something useful.
You can't tell me that's the only damn thing that dropped in your map. I can get more loot in the T1 map.
He finished 10% of the map, and he brought me back an armor scrap and a fucking flask. And I was just like, why would you even bother?
Just leave that shit on the ground. You just came back empty-handed with your ass whooped.
Yep.
I'd have felt better.
Yep, exactly what happened.
So we talked a lot about Path of Exile 1 and Path of Exile 1's new league, Secret of the Atlas, with the new league mechanic, Mercenaries. And we love it. So out of the league, what you've done and how you've done it and enjoyed it and whatnot, if you were to give the new league and content a rating from 1 to 10, what would you give this league in comparison to others?
Like an 8.
About an 8?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
8-1, 8-2, something like that.
I gotcha. From a casual perspective, I'd have to say I'm going to rate it a little bit higher. I think, and it's probably more so because the struggle busing part of a league start is probably the biggest trouble that casuals have, finding linked gear that's not only has the links you want, but also an upgrade to what you already have. Made it much easier, much more approachable, and just much more fun, right? You know, you could get that one, boom, oh, cool loot while you're running through the campaign, but you find this one mercenary that just has this epic pair of boots that have 25% movement speed with 4 links already put together and the base that you want. So
yeah, nothing in this league will ever come close to the small private league of Freshia that we had that changed and gave us the idols. I think that was probably the best Path of Exile league ever.
oh, so the idol. So you liked the idol league, then? Huh?
Idols were the best thing that ever happened to the game. I don't know why they got rid of them.
Well, they completely changed their base functionality of the game.
Yeah, it was great. You've been playing the same game for 10 years. It's good. Change is good.
True. And a lot of people would disagree with you. Change is bad, like the Croots. Change bad.
Yeah, no, changes. It was good. It was a great time.
Yeah.
You'll never get juicing the way that you got it. You'll never get as hard of content as you got it. There was some of the hardest content the game was in Freshia.
True.
The way that you could juice rogue exiles and stuff. You'll never get that again until they make changes.
Yeah, you needed mirror tier items in pretty much every slot to run some of that content.
Yep. It was the first time in a long time that you actually needed mirror tier items to be able to do the content. So
I would say probably like a 9.2, just over a 9, probably for me, just as the casual player perspective, because it definitely made the league start much more enjoyable.
Yep, I can see that.
So, kind of tangenting off on the whole
The better game. Path of Exile 2?
Yes.
Or somewhere else?
To the better game.
There's no air quotes in this. Put your fingers down. It's the better game.
Yes, I agree with you. However, not everybody does. Anyways, tangenting off to Path of Exile 2 and the topic that we were just talking about, or you particularly were talking about, where you needed that juiced gear in order to do the content, right? That's not really an existent in Path of Exile 2 yet. Right?
Is it though? Is it?
What do you mean? Is it what? Is it there? It's not there.
Is it not there? Is it really not there?
Maybe. Okay, so for the casual player, yes, it is there. 100%, hands down, you can't argue that. It is there for the casual player because there's players that are still playing today that are still running through the campaign and still have yet to defeat a pinnacle boss. No arguments there. But not on the level that Path of Exile 1 is, and I don't think it'll ever be that way because I don't think that's their goal, right? Because they've specifically come out and said they want to separate that whole ideology of Path of Exile 1 versus Path of Exile 2. They've already straight up said that they want them to be their own separate games, which is fine. I'm glad. I like that because for those big old PoE1 goers, and I'll probably get a lot of boos here from the PoE1 fan base, but PoE1 is PoE1, and I want it to stay PoE1. I don't want PoE1 to become PoE2, nor do I want PoE2 to become PoE1. I like the fact that they're different games. But
I'm in agreement with you.
With that being said, what do you think this new league for Path of Exile 1 is doing to or with the health and longevity of Path of Exile 2? And is there something, not necessarily specifically from this league, but from Path of Exile 1 that you would like to eventually see in Path of Exile 2? And don't say Blight.
That's a hard one. Because I probably would have to say Einhart.
Beasts. What about beasts do you enjoy?
Beasts are fun, man. You just go in, you blow up a bunch of things, you get some cool stuff, you get to craft some stuff. Beasts are a good time.
So, particularly the farming the beast part, or the fact that you farm the beast for another sort of crafting option?
I just like all of it. I can't really pinpoint one specific thing about it, but it's just a really good time.
Yeah, no, I can see it. There's been a lot of I won't say a lot, but the last few leagues I've seen you enjoying doing some sort of beast farming method one way or another. So obviously must be fun if you continue going back to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
For me, I think the one thing that I would like to see coming from Path of Exile 1, right? I still want them to be separate games, by all means. But one thing that I would like to see is just more currencies. Give us more currencies to shape a little bit more of this RNG system that people want to call crafting, but it's not crafting. It's freaking playing the damn slots or lottery to hope for a decent item.
Yep.
So probably just a little bit more currencies, or maybe not necessarily just currencies, but a more undiabolical method to actually craft higher tier items. Let it be some chase items that you have to chase for to potentially do this. I'm fine with that too. But give us something that we can go for instead of just grabbing, 7,000 bases and 70,000 exalts to slam them.
Yeah. But it gives like, I like that bases have value.
Agreed. 100% agreed.
And I think like alterations and scours remove value from bases.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't want scours. Hot take, I don't want scours in the game. Because you're absolutely right. You add scours to the game and it removes the what's the word I'm looking for? The value. Jesus Christ. It removes the value of having to farm for bases, right? Because then each player has to farm one base and then boom, you never have to look for a base again. I'm okay with that. I like that. It gives, like you said, value to the bases, and I'm okay with that. But alterations doesn't remove the value of a base, right? Because if you can't scour it, you can reroll a maximum of what, 2? But then once you hit that regal, that base is toast. You got to find another base, right?
Yeah, but you don't have to regal it. You can just keep rolling.
Right. For a slightly higher tier of deterministic crafting, right? We're already limited to what, 3? I think it is. You can kind of deterministically craft 3 affixes, right? So that leaves 50% of your item up for RNG. Yes or no? Am I wrong there? Correct me if I'm wrong.
I want to say you're right.
Because you can fracture.
You can fracture.
And then you can... What's the recombinator?
If you fracture it, you can only chaos spam it at that point. Can't do anything.
But it has to be rare, right? For chaos?
I mean, you can't fracture a blue item.
Can't you fracture a blue item in PoE 1?
Nope. Has to have 4 mods.
So that's okay. So that's for both PoE 1 and PoE 2 then.
Yep. But the difference is in PoE 1, you can scour an item back to blue.
Right, because it has to be blue with a mod. Gotcha. Okay, and hence that's one thing that I'm okay with not being in the game is scours. But I still think if you don't have to regal it, right? What would you do with it after that? Like, because you we'll just say, for example, you alt spam, you get exactly what you want, 2 tier 1 affixes. What do you do with it from there?
Sell it.
You sell it.
Sell your shit. What do you mean?
Drew, sell your shit, people. That's how you make money. You sell your shit. Quit holding on to your dog shit items and sell your dog shit items to other dog shit players.
Yes.
No, but serious question, right? If you don't sell it because you're crafting, it still holds value, right? Bases still hold value because you sold that base. Now you need another base, right? Even if it's to sell with alt spam, right? So even for a value perspective from your side.
Yeah, I can see it.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, makes sense.
Like I said, I think honestly the big value reducing in PoE 1 for bases is the scour orb. So if we just leave that out, I think having more deterministic currencies for crafting, I think would be good. Would be good for PoE 2 because right now it's definitely does not feel good trying to craft anything when it comes to
We just
just
need to accept that they got to give us back the. Oh my God, what is
the
it called?
benchcraft.
Yeah, they just. I mean, runes are great, but just give us the bench. Everything will be fine.
I agree. I don't know that I necessarily see their idea or their vision when it comes to no benchcraft and runes replace benchcraft because like no matter how much you want runes to replace benchcraft, if this item has a base lightning resist on it, for example, and I'm already capped on lightning resist, adding some runes for my other resist doesn't help me. So I still have to shift all
Yep.
my stuff rather than just using runes to quote unquote fix it, right? So I don't
Harvest will fix a lot of issues too.
another mechanic.
Yeah, another mechanic. I mean, I guess the problem with Path of Exile 2 is just like we want so much, and there hasn't been enough time to give us as much as we want.
True. And I think the big argument that a lot of people do throw out there is that it needs time to cook. It needs time to give it the time, give it the years. Okay, so we give it the time, right? We'll just say a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. Okay, they've added this content in the game. Do you feel like Path of Exile 2 is going to eventually fall into the same sea as Path of Exile 1 to where players are going to feel overwhelmed or content is bloated? Or do you think that they're doing better? They're going to do better?
No, it's always going to get that way. Every game gets that way. There's not a game that hasn't been out for multiples of years that isn't just completely bloated. I mean, if you look at things like World of Warcraft, it has like what, 10 expansions, 12 expansions, 14 expansions, something crazy like that.
No clue. With the game I don't follow.
Well, okay. Anyways, World of Warcraft has got, for a really good example, has like, or even EverQuest. EverQuest is like 30 expansions deep.
Right.
And they eventually have to reset things to help with the bloat. So I just looked it up. World of Warcraft is 10 major expansions. EverQuest is a lot more. Like a lot more.
A lot more.
EverQuest is 31 full expansions. And both of these games had to create progression servers to bring it back to the beginning. So every game, in theory, eventually gets to the point of bloat. I mean, like if you look at even other ARPGs, like Diablo 2 is got now terror zones, I think they're called.
Yep.
And there's thunder charms. It's like getting to the point where like you just took this really cool game and now you're just adding these other layers and new rune words, which granted, I like the idea that it's adding more stuff, right? And then you have things like Last Epoch, which is now adding pinnacle bosses on top of your Atlas or your Echoes. And like Hero Siege is adding like new waves and ways to spawn mechanic and towers. So like every game gets bloated. Every single game is going to get bloated. There's nothing you can do about it. It's just natural progression of expansions or seasons or leagues. So yeah, I mean, 3, 4, 5 years from now, if PoE 2 continues on the trend that it's at, I mean, it should in theory have multiple leagues worth of content that's just crazy.
Yeah, no, I agree. Some people called it a league. Some people called it just a reset with a new expansion. Yeah, 0.2, Dawn of the Hunt, right? Okay. It was a great addition. We got the I almost just said Druid. We got the Huntress, right? Which is the spear chucker, the Amazon style. So what are you looking forward to from the leaks and the information that we have out there in PoE 2? What are you looking forward to in the next expansion, content edition, whatever the case, whatever you want to call it? It's supposed to be about
August.
Nature. Is it in August?
It's in August.
Okay, so 2 months.
That's known. That's known information. That's not like leak information. Jonathan said August, and then PoE 1's October.
What do you mean October for what?
PoE 1. The next league for PoE 1's on October.
Oh yeah, because they've already said they're trying to do the whole 4-month thing, right? So
Yep.
figure a week. Wait, wait, October. Yeah. Okay, sorry, I got lost there for a second. But anyways, regardless of dates, what are you looking forward to in the new content and stuff, and what are you hoping to see when they launch the next content release?
Well, I haven't seen any leaks, so I don't know if there's any leaks. I don't know what's out there. I assume, based on what I've heard in the past from GGG, was the Huntress and the Druid were the closest two to being done.
Mm-hmm.
And when they announced in point 1 or point 2 that we were getting a new class, and they showcased the 1, everybody thought we were also getting Druid, but it didn't make sense to get Druid because Druid felt like a big enough of a class to have its own expansion.
Right.
So I feel like every league or every so it's 0.2. So 1.0 would be the full release of the game. So every 0.x point whatever, so that X, that middle number, would be a league, should, in my mind, have a character or a campaign update or major league mechanic. So I have to assume, based on context clues from GGG, that the Huntress and Druid are the closest to being done, that fingers crossed in August we get the Druid, because I think every time they do with one of these 4-month updates or 3-month updates, it has to be so massive to bring people back. Otherwise, it's going to flop. And I don't think they can afford to let it fail.
But what makes you think that it's even close to failing?
I don't think it's close to failing. I think it's just out of this world. I mean, numbers prove that player retention's at an all-time high.
Right.
Numbers show that more people are playing it than ever. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think they can let it fail because of how much passion and time and hours and manpower they put into it. Right. So, like, if they release a bad 0.x update and it was bad, and it were to go downhill, everything would be for waste. Right. So
Right.
I don't think they can afford to let any of their .x expansions be bad.
Yeah,
especially after a year of settlers. Right. Like, they just can't afford for the negative publicity. They have to build good faith with major updates every single time.
So let's just assume. Well, no, assume's a bad terminology. Let's just pretend that we're getting Druid in 0.3.
Okay.
And the new mechanic. If it is Druid, not saying it is, don't shoot me, guys. But if it is, we're pretending here. If it is Druid and they drop Druid, what are you excited about for the Druid class? And what would you like to see come with it?
You know why I don't think it's the Druid?
Why you don't think it's the Druid?
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop you there for just a second, and I'm not gonna argue or disagree with you because I don't know. But from everything that I've seen and read, including the theme and where they're sending it, it just makes sense to be the Druid. But okay, tell me why you don't think it's the Druid.
Because we've seen items in the game that are incomplete, and none of them are the Druid weapons. We've seen incomplete
But
traps,
the Druid's not
incomplete
weapons.
swords. What does it use?
You would assume it's a magic staff, wand.
We haven't seen any of the weapons. Every class has its own unique weapon type. Every class is identified with a weapon type.
The sorcerer and the witch, right? They don't need a weapon to cast their spells, right?
They have wands.
They have wands, so
Wands were in the base game.
right. But that's what I'm saying. Like, but
So every
Druids
haven't
could
seen
use
any of
wand.
this. They could,
right?
but wands came with the witch and sorcerer. Bows came with the ranger. And even if you turn on, like, if I were to turn on Path of Exile 2 right now, like, you could see the different weapon types when you click the skills.
Right.
And I don't think we've seen any of the Druid stuff.
Maybe not. I mean, that's a valid point. Is there no staffs in the game?
There's quarterstaffs.
Right, not quarterstaffs, just staffs.
There's regular staffs, but I don't know if that's what they're supposed to be using.
Well,
I don't know enough of them.
No. I completely see. I see your point, and I'm not arguing. I'm just bringing up a valid point that, in my eyes, that's the whole thing behind druids, right? Druids
Well,
are shapeshifters, casters,
if
spell
I had to
users.
guess, I would say that the next class was going to be like the duelist or something with a sword. Because Druid is the most wanted class by everybody. Druid's the most hyped and anticipated class for everybody. Druid's the biggest idea of a release, a shape-shifting class that people want.
Mm-hmm.
If Druid were to come out, it would be a full release character or towards the end to build up hype.
Well, they've said that they might release the game with
early.
characters unfinished.
Yeah.
Which I think would be a mistake, but
I agree with you 100%. But I think I'm probably wrong. It's probably Druid in August. It probably is. I'm wrong. But it would make sense. In my mind, it makes sense from a marketing standpoint that it's such a big class and such a big thing that it would be like,
it'd be better for a launch. Bring all these players that were anticipating that from the beginning. But at the same side, let's look at the other side of the street, right? If we're looking into this and it's not Druid, how many people are going to be disappointed and kind of give up hope? Because I can't tell you how many people have specifically told me, like, I don't want to play the game because I want to play Druid.
I know. So you made the point earlier. There's occult, elemental, flail, primal, axe, mace, sword, crossbow, bow, spear, dagger, quarterstaff. And to go into your point, occult is the wands. No, occult is curses and the minions stuff. Elemental is the spells.
Right.
Flail we know is the Templar. Primal's the Druid, which we don't know what it is the Marauder.
What was that?
The Marauder. Mace is the Titan. Swords are the Duelist. Crossbows are the whatever the heck his name is.
Mercenary.
Yeah, that guy. Spears are the Huntress. Dagger are the Shadows, and quarterstaffs are the Monks. So what the hell is Primal?
I'm telling you, the reason there's nothing new is because Druids have been known to be staff users. They use staffs, like base staffs, not quarterstaffs, just staffs and wands and sources, objects of power, just like a sorceress.
Like
but
totems? Like handheld totems?
Yeah.
Like D4 or whatever the hell it was?
Right, but that's just an aspect that somebody can look in. You know, maybe it's very specifically geared towards the staff, two-handed staff, so it's not going to account for like an offhand. But if you want to use a wand and maybe a scepter for spirit, think about it, minions, yep. Druid, you know, that's why I don't think that they're getting a class-specific weapon, because I believe that a lot of their powers, like shapeshifter, you can use any kind of weapon. You know, you can use an axe, you can use a sword, you can use a spear.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But
I get behind that.
I'm looking forward mostly to the shapeshifting. If it is the Druid, if it's not, whatever. You know, we'll play a duelist with dual swords bleeding at. Wait, duelist is swords. Whose axes?
The Marauder.
Marauder, that's right. And that those are all the classes have been confirmed as to what's coming to the game, right?
Yeah, you can see it inside the game when you click on one of the things. It'll tell you all the class types.
Okay. And then there's one thing that we haven't seen, and that's from PoE 1 is claws, right? Is there any mention on claws or stuff that may be coming to the game or not? Do you know?
Not to my knowledge.
Fair enough. So if it is the Druid, though, I think I'm looking most forward to, I hope, we don't know, but I hope that we do have summoning aspects for the Druid. I feel like it'd be kind of wrong if they didn't have some sort of summoning, even if it's just like a built-in skill ability, not necessarily spirit reliant. You just get this and you get a couple wolves that just help you out.
Yeah, whatever. That'd be really cool. Yeah. Like summon ravens, wolves, bears, stuff like that.
Right, right. Which there's been a lot of speculation. We've seen 2 of the shape-shifting capabilities of the druid, but there's supposed to be a third. There's been a confirmed third, but there's no word or what or how.
Yep.
And a lot of people have been speculating like a chimera or a dragon of some sort, which would be super cool.
I've heard a lot of that. Yeah, that'd be really interesting.
But yeah, I think I'm looking most forward to that whole shape-shifting feel, because some of the videos that you've seen, the volcano spell and the trample with the werebear, or just the bear, whatever they call it. I like how they've done it so visually and aesthetically pleasing, to where when you are that bear, you're just this massive creature that actually towers over your enemies, rather than some of these other games that you transform into this big bear and you still look like you look up to all the enemies and demons and monsters and stuff like that. So I do appreciate their viewpoint on the creation of that particular thing, and I'm excited. Whether it's a druid or not, I'm looking forward to the next major content release.
Yeah, me too. 100%.
Of PoE 2. And as far as the League, did we get a specific like addition of content with 0.2 in the Huntress?
No, it was just the Huntress and a bunch of fixes.
Yeah, quality of life. So
they've also redid towers, or they changed up the way towers were a little bit.
And the mapping the progression of mapping too, which I hated.
Yeah.
Casual
but no,
player.
we haven't gotten a League mechanic yet. I'm sure that's coming.
So you think?
Well, the League mechanics are supposed to be tied to like the axe, so we might have to wait for the axe, and it doesn't make sense to give the axe early. So,
which they said that they have pretty much all the acts are complete, right? They've said that.
I do not know.
Okay, I could be wrong.
I will take your word. I'll take your word on this.
I'm not going to 100% on it, because I'm not 100% on it. But I want to say like 70, 80%. I've heard that the acts are complete. The reasons that they can't or haven't done anything with them yet is more so because of animations and bosses, because they've said they've been very open, upfront, and honest about they want there to be a boss in every part of the campaign, starting from Act 1, and every place that you go to, there's going to be a boss in that area. And it makes sense, because every place has this like dead end open area that you can go, but a lot of places don't have the boss or don't have something there. So during races, they would you'd be running into a dead end thinking that that's the next place you need to go, but really that would just be a boss fight.
Yep. Fair enough. It's going to be interesting to see. I'm excited about it.
I'm excited too. So with PoE 2 having couple months left, maybe month and a half ish left until they drop their next content. What do you how do you think PoE 1 and the new freshness and content and stuff? And they've already said that they kind of like testing some things for PoE 1 and 2 and PoE 2 and 1. They've said that. So how do you think Mercenaries and the new League mechanic in PoE 1 compare?
Oh, it's 100%. It's 100% a test for PoE 2.
Yeah, no doubt. But how do you think that brings health and longevity to PoE 2? What do you think about that aspect of it?
That's hard, right? Because I don't know how much PoE 1 affects PoE 2 in the grand scheme of things. I'm not sure. I don't really know how to answer that.
Well, answer it from your perspective. Like, because you enjoy both games. You play both games. Matters.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter at all.
So to you, regardless of what PoE 1 does, it doesn't give you any thoughts or processes behind PoE 2?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, PoE 1 is just a testing ground for PoE 2, right? There's separate games.
Right.
Yeah. So, like, I don't think 1 is going to have an effect on 2, especially since we've seen so many times that, like, 2 is 100% tailored towards non-PoE1 players.
Right.
So
That
I
makes
don't know.
sense. To me,
Yeah, it's hard.
true. But just the name Path of Exile and all the good, it will say good because there's been some negative feedback as far as for Mercenaries, which is you can't please everybody, right? There's
Yeah.
always going to be the negative feedback, which sometimes can be very constructive. You know, like
Yeah.
the negative feedback for the damn servers and performance problems that they got for, and lashbacks for PoE1, constantly getting kicked out, servers getting shut down, which I think they came back and said that wasn't on their end at all. It was
It was a DDoS attack, yeah.
But it wasn't even on GGG, right? It was like an internet service provider DDoSing attacks.
I didn't read the whole thing. I just know they said they got DDoS. I think you're right though. I think criticism is really important. I think what players are failing to do is they're keeping their criticism without it being like attacks. Like I always encourage people. I think if you have a problem, I think if you dislike PoE1 or PoE2, I think the best thing you could ever do is log out. Log out, go to the forums, make a forum post with critical thinking, not just screaming like the old man pissing into the clouds.
Yep.
I think players who spend the time to make constructive posts, whether it be good or bad, and no matter how bad is bad, but constructively is doing way more help than harm. I think the players who are doing harm are the players that are bitching they hate it and are still logged in. Like if you want to make a stand, like speak with your wallet, speak with your numbers, log out. Like you see it in PoE1 all the time. Players are they're unhappy, they log out. That's why there's no retention, right?
Right.
Players get bored, they log out. It's not good. And then you see PoE2 and you hear about all the people crying, but players are logged in. Players are playing. Players are having a good time.
It comes down to the whole aspect, right? Who's looking in from what direction and what window are you peeking in through, right?
Yeah.
I agree, though. The biggest thing that you can do for the health of any game development is speak your mind and give a reason why that is your mind, right? So for all you PoE 1 and 2 lovers and haters, go to the forums, right? Tell them what you think about the game. Give them this critical feedback, which is extremely important for a well-developed game, but not just give them feedback. Like Mercenaries, I hate them. They suck.
But why? Why do you hate them?
Why do you hate them? Exactly.
Yeah.
Why do you hate them? Why do they suck? And what could they do to fix it? Even if it's, you're a small nobody, that doesn't matter, because you would be surprised as to where they get some of this feedback and find a lot of this information from the player base, right? Because just because, for example, Twitch has 100,000 people watching PoE1, that doesn't mean 100,000 people are playing PoE1. It could, but it doesn't. Where there's,
I will tell you, I pulled up the charts. There's according to Steam charts, 120,000 people logged into PoE1 and 19,300 logged into PoE2. Excuse me. And it goes to show that like PoE1 players are standing their ground for their game. They're logged into their game, and I hope they continue to stay logged in.
I agree. And for those PoE1 players that aren't logged in and you enjoy PoE1, why aren't you logged in? Let them know. Give them the feedback, because you're just going to stay logged out and they're not going to get any fixes to bring you or your niche back into the game, and so they need that feedback. So if you're logged out, why are you logged out? Let them know.
You hear from so many PoE1 purists. Oh my God, it's the best game ever. Oh my God, PoE2 sucks. Oh my God, this. Oh my God, that. And you say, well, what are you doing in PoE1 right now? And they're like, oh, I'm logged out. I'm waiting for the new stuff. Why? But if it's so perfect and so great and so wonderful, you logged out and you make the point. Go tell them why you logged out. Why did you get bored? What got boring? What changed? Why aren't you playing? What has come out in other games that make things more exciting? You can say, I'm playing League of Legends. Why are you playing League of Legends and not playing Path of Exile? What is it about League of Legends? Are you just a degenerate? Are you addicted? Did they do a new mechanic? Did they come with an idea? Because Path of Exile is the king of stealing ideas from other games.
That's what makes it so good.
Yeah, every league is stolen from another game. Like, let's call a spade a spade. Everything is stolen from another game. So if there's something good, You make the point, man. Tell people why you like it. Can't steal it if they don't know it.
Exactly. I think we made a lot of good points here, and I love Path of Exile 1 and 2 from a casual point. I'm slow trekking. I'm still playing PoE 1, not at the speed or level that a lot of people are, but I am just a casual, and I still enjoy it. So I am logged in, and when I find something that I don't like, I'll tell them about it, and I let them know, whether it's on their forums or other forums, Reddit forums, wherever it may be.
Steam forums.
Steam forums, that's a good one too. And you said you logged in and you saw Steam numbers, right? And that's another thing, is that's only one, I won't say small, but that's one portion of the many places, because Steam analytics don't provide console
Base
players. They don't count base client. So that's a lot of numbers that aren't there. Now, there's a big majority on Steam, but Steam's just one platform.
Are you logged in on Steam, or are you logged in on the base client?
I'm logged in on Steam, which I regret almost every time they do some sort of mid patch while I'm actively playing.
You can convert to the base client.
Yeah, it's just a matter of logging in. My big issue with that right now is just space. Space on my PC, old PC.
Delete it off Steam, put it on the base client.
Yeah, I've considered that too, and I think I might end up doing that if
I play both on the base client.
Yeah, I used to play on the base client way back when, because I was one of those people that were just completely against Steam. I don't like Steam. I don't like this third. It wasn't Steam. It was the idea that I want to play your game and I want you to launch my game. And it's the whole concept of like, I don't want you to send me somewhere else, because even with Steam, if you purchase, for example, an EA game, now you have to have another freaking launcher installed. So now you got Steam.
I think that's a huge topic, and I agree with you on some aspects and disagree with you on others. And I definitely think we could spend another hour going into that. That's a good one. I didn't realize how many people, I've heard of that before, but I guess it never really crossed my mind how many people, like, you hear about all the, I don't want to log in with Epic. What? Shut up. Log in.
It's crazy, but that was exactly the way I used to think. I don't think that way anymore, but I definitely did think that quite a bit. But I think that is for another time and another episode.
Yeah, I think that's a hell of a topic. This is one of those moments where, like, I'm thinking about it and I'm like, do we want to open this can of worms and ask people their thoughts on it ahead of time? And I think that's a good idea.
I think so too.
I think if you want to hear more about this and you have a topic or a thought on that, you guys got to let us know. Also, if there's any topic that we haven't discussed up until these episodes right now that you want to hear us go over, or something that you would like us to research, please let us know. I'm pretty sure Spooker's setting up an email for us, right? That you guys can send in your email requests of what you want. And you can directly email him and let him know. You can leave comments on any of the live broadcasting platforms.
I do have an email, and you can have an email too. I've told you that.
Jesus.
I already have the domain locked in. sp00kerhd@lfgxd.com is the email if you would like to request any specific content. If you're not over on the YouTube side and you have nowhere to put your comment or ideas into.
There you go. Awesome.
So with that being the end of our topics between PoE 1 and PoE 2, and it's not the end, trust me. We'll be back to Path of Exile because it's such a great game genre, and it's ever defining the genre of action RPGs, and we love it. So
I'm sure we'll be back in the next 3 or 4 weeks as we get closer to spoiler season and everything else that's coming.
Yep.
So
I agree. But with that being said, you know where to find us. We're on YouTube and all major podcast platforms. You guys have a wonderful day, evening, night, or whatever time it may be for you. And we'll see you next time in the next episode of Loot Farming and Gossip.
Static buzz in the midnight air. Try to get spooker in the gamer's lair. Loot Raindrops falling like a neon rain. Pixel worlds driving us insane. Halo rings light up the fight. Sonic speed blurs through the night. Diablo's demons in the dungeon's breath. Path of Exile paths leading to death. Live farming gossip in the glow. Digital whispers in the flow. EverQuest dreams keep us alive. Dead by daylight screams collide. Talk of bosses grinding bones. Legends born in gaming zones. Quests that stretch beyond the frame. In this podcast we name the game. Controllers on the heartbeat song. Spookers laugh keeps the vibe strong. Travik's words cut through the noise. Gaming tales from girls and boys. Loot farming gossip in the glow. Digital whispers in the flow. EverQuest dreams keep us alive. Dead by daylight screams collide. Controllers hum the heartbeat song. Spookers laugh keeps the vibe strong. Travik's words cut through the noise. Gaming tales from girls and boys. The farming gossip in the glow. Digital whispers in the flow. EverQuest dreams keep us alive. Dead by daylight screams collide.